Coming up next on the Union Label will be a conversation with Francis Willey and Gerald Watkins on Paducah's 32nd annual Labor Day program. Welcome back. I'm Barry Craig. 32 years in a row for the Labor Day Parade. It actually goes back, doesn't it, Francis, to the 1890s?
Yes, it does.
And for some reason, it stopped right after World War II.
Yes.
And so that's why we call it the 32nd annual parade.
Yes.
What can we expect to see? Just kind of run down the weekend, if you would.
The weekend, of course, the weekend starts on Saturday. That's the first. Then the second and the third out at Carson Park again this year. And on Saturday we have entertainment out at Carson Park. We have about 15 different bands, and we've got different groups coming in. And Brian Hooper takes care of all that arrangement for us, which is a big help for us. And then, of course, we have the flea market, and the vendors will be there. And then on Sunday, we have it's gospel singing after church, and then we have a poker run that's going to come in. And they're to sign up at Sunday afternoon at 1:30.
And that's for the motorcyclists.
That's for the motorcycles, and that from 1:30. Cutoff time is at 3:30. They have an 80-mile run, and James Hooper has taken care of that for us. And then we also have live entertainment out there again, but Monday seems to be our biggest day. Of course, Monday the 3rd, Labor Day, is our parade day.
And this is shaping up to be one of the longest parades ever based on the entry forms you've got.
It is, yes. Howard Dawes and I have been working on that, and so far, yes. And we thought we were finished with it, but I went home and there's more coming in. They call. Some people can't find their forms, or if they forget or something, but anyway, so far we have 55 entries. So 55 entries. And
the parade route will be?
We start at 2nd and Broadway. The lineup is down at 2nd and Broadway. I like to say this, all the bands, again, the local bands, school bands are participating in that, and I would like to elaborate a little bit on the bands. We pay each band that participates in the parade $150. And then we have a $500 drawing for scholarship for one of the schools. But they'll be there. Then we march from 2nd and Broadway to 17th, and then we ask them to exit off to the right on 17th. And as I say, there's 55 so far, but it looks like we're going to get 65. It just seems like that.
Are you going to do the candy? Is that still
well,
part of
we're
that?
going to do the candy, and I've had meetings with Paducah City here, and they've asked us. They're asking not to throw the candy, to hand it out.
They did that last year, didn't they?
Yes, they did, and
it.
we had good luck with that because of the safety thing. Now, we've never had any accidents, but some places they have. But I put a letter explaining all that in each form that we sent to the parade people. And then after we do that, we'll exit on out to Carson Park. And out there, Lou Chiton, I'm telling you our final program on Monday, Lou Chiton, 61 South, will be out there entertaining. And then he'll go up till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Then we have our political speakers at 1 o'clock, and I've sent out 66 letters inviting different ones to be there and speak. And then after the political speaking, we have more entertainment. And of course, all 3 days are food vendors and flea market there. And it looks like our flea market it was coming in slow, but it's really picking up now. But
well, speaking of the politicians, we have one with us, City Commissioner Gerald Watkins, who sometimes wears the hat on this show as political guru and political science professor. But today he's Commissioner Watkins, who will be out there Is it true that the political speaking is the absolute top draw for this whole program?
In the entire state, Barry. It's the Western Kentucky Labor Day Parade and festivities, activities, and political speaking are one of the highlights of the entire year for Western Kentucky and for Paducah and McCracken County in this area. The parade route will have 3,000 to 4,000 people on average there, and most of them will come over to Carson Park and be there for the political speaking. There's always good food there, and yours truly will be giving a rip-roaring speech. And
now you've been limited to 5 minutes. Can you handle that?
I don't know. That's going to be tough on me.
And you were the timekeeper at Fancy Farm.
Fancy Farm.
So who's going to keep the time on you?
Jeff Wiggins did last year, so I'll probably listen.
Jeff's pretty good sized fellow, so you have to pay attention
to him.
Pay attention to him because you politicians try to crowd that a little bit. 5 and 5.5 and 6.
I know how they are because I do
You're
the
one
Fancy
of
Farm in St. John's, and I'm one of them. And one requirement for getting into politics, I guess, is you like to speak, you like to talk. But there'll be this has been many years the premier and the state AFL-CIO designated parade for the entire state of Kentucky.
It was for years. It certainly was.
And we've had the governor of Kentucky down many times to participate, and a lot of not just local and regional, but even statewide candidates and elected officials. So it's you get to meet and see and talk to a lot of the candidates and elected officials, and the political speaking is not
as hot as the weather.
It is. It should be this year. A lot of issues at stake and contested, and important election this year and next year. So I would anticipate that fireworks would be hot, as you said, the political speaking.
Francis, so far 66 letters sent out. Who do you have for sure committed to come in addition to Commissioner Watkins here?
Well, he just told me he'd be there.
Well, now you have one. Now you have
so
one.
There's one.
That'll save him a stamp from having to reply or a phone call.
Well, I've already put the stamp on there.
Well, you owe Francis 30. What is it? 41.
41 cents.
41 cents. Let's pay it right now.
Come on.
after the show, we can do so.
Okay.
So who do you have committed for sure?
Very few have committed. Now we've had several phone calls, and they're asking so many questions that they don't understand. Well, they're asking, can you give me an outline of the program? Can you tell me exactly when we'll speak? Can you tell me how long we are allowed to speak and all those things? And most of these people have been to many of these programs, and they know exactly.
They have amnesia or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Something's not right.
Really?
Yes. Mm-hmm. But we have several local people that have answered with a yes. They have, and but so far now we're just getting calls like this morning. Our governor called, and they were debating whether they'd be here or not. But I'm sure they will be here because they want to be here, I'm sure.
Is Steve Beshear or Dan Monjardo?
Yes.
I wonder, are they coming?
Yeah. Well, yes, one of them will be here. Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be quite a coup if you had the governor and
I
his
think
opponent.
it'll be Steve because he's the one that has participated in more of the correspondence than anyone else.
Well, that would certainly be.
And I think it would be
quite an
great
event to have the governor and his opponent both.
Yes.
That would. Well, that would maybe make it even hotter. Bring that thermometer up even higher. Than that.
Sure would.
Now, in the past, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were about to say something.
Well, I was going to jump into something else right now.
Go right ahead.
We failed to mention our Grand Marshal.
Exactly.
Our Grand Marshal is Wayne Chambers from Mayfield. He's from Local 665.
He was the vice president.
Yes. And a well-deserving person. I mean, he just really works hard.
I went to school
and I
with
just
Wayne.
wanted
known
people
him for
to know
years.
that.
Sure, I'm glad you did. Now, in the past, wasn't the rule you could speak only if you were running for office?
That's right.
But this time, it's going to be open for all politicians,
That's
including
right.
Commissioner Watkins, who will face the voters
I'm
next
running
year.
next year, so I'm running early.
Yeah. Well, you got
Well,
to.
and we've got another one saying the same thing, Gerald, that you're saying, and that's understandable.
Well, Commissioner, when you're crafting a speech for the Labor Day picnic, what goes into that? What do you consider when you've got 5 minutes? So well, tell us what you're going to say.
Oh.
Well, I try to be prepared, and I don't want to just. Sometimes I speak off the cuff, but I like to prepare my remarks.
That usually gets politicians in trouble when they go speak off the cuff.
You sure can, and I'm not above that. So I don't embarrass myself. 99% of the time I write my speeches and I practice them. I wish they would do that at St. John's and Fancy Farm to meet the time that you're allocated. They're professional politicians. They should, you can't use your 30-minute Rotary speech in a 5-minute political picnic. It doesn't work. So
but they try sometimes.
They try, that's for sure. But so I write my speech. I time it to make sure I fall within my time frame. I try to hit the theme of the event and put my own philosophy and the issues that I'm interested in. So even though I'm a city commissioner, I'll probably be addressing some national issues in my speech and try to put it all together as to how important labor is to this country, to the creation of the middle class, and how it's being eroded with trade policies and sometimes the antagonism toward organized labor. And so I think we're in a little bit of trouble nationally, and that filters down to the local level. So my speech will address the whole movement.
Now, growing up in Paducah when you were a kid, did you go to the parades?
I did. I've always enjoyed parades, and I've got a labor background myself, and come from a family of, I started to say modest, actually dirt poor means. And so Labor Day has always been a special day to me, but I've always loved the Labor Day parade. It's that and the Christmas parade are really the two major parades in Paducah, and again, they draw 3 or 4 or as many, I think one year as much as 5,000 people will be watching, and it's a fun event. You get to see a lot of people, and the entries are always interesting, and love to hear good high school band music, and they're just always have some beauty queens in it, so it's always fun.
Speaking of beauty queens, didn't you have a beauty queen in your family many years ago?
I did. My daughter she won Miss Labor Day on, in fact, 2 different occasions, I believe, and was in the parade. And she is a little beauty, and I'm glad.
How old was she when she won?
She was about 5 years old, I think.
And you have a photograph
6, and then I had one. She was about 8 or 9 too. Yeah. So you took the picture.
I was going to say it was a brilliant photographer.
It was a great picture.
Didn't want to bring
that
out
ever.
If I could help that side.
Excellent
now,
picture.
Did you grow up in Paducah, Francis?
No.
So your
No.
contact with the Labor Day parades are fairly recent.
Well, with Labor Day, but of course I go back with the unions when the plant was being built, and here when it was called Union Carbide.
Right.
That's when I really got started getting involved in unions and everything that participated in the plant out there.
After all the work is done, do you get to sit back and watch the parade?
I have never seen one of those parades. Don't look at me.
Is that right?
Well,
so what do you, when the
think
parade?
about
I
it.
understand.
Too much work to be done.
When the parade is going on, it starts at what, 10 o'clock?
No, 9:30.
9:30. Okay. At 9:30 on Labor Day, where will you be?
I will be down at 2nd Broadway with Howard Dawes and Jeff Wiggins, who is our president of the Labor Day, directing.
Of course.
Getting the floats and all out, and the bands, getting them lined up, and getting those fire engines up there first. They have to be up there first, Barry, because it's a must to get the fire engines in that parade.
Something could happen.
That's right.
Right.
But that's where I'll be.
Yeah.
And then before that, though, I have to go down and set up a table and chairs for our judges.
Which is about halfway along.
I'm going to put them in front of Comcast cable this year, and because of that is because there's a little shade there. It has been a little farther down on Broadway, and they're out there in the sun, and I just, no way. So I'm going to put them in front of Comcast cable this year. So I've got to take care of that.
Who are the judges?
The judges, Larry Johnson,
Who's
Ken
machinist?
Ken Tyler,
who's a former Pace Union
Yes.
member, retired.
And they're both union, and
Right.
then a friend of unions, Pat Thoman.
Okay.
Now, this will be her first time for this, but Larry has done this
Oh,
before.
sure. So you get prizes are awarded for what? Best float, best
Best
band?
float, most crowd's choice. What else? There's 10 of them. I've got
I
10
can't remember
of
what I...
best float, crowd's choice, and most enthusiasm.
And they win trophies?
They win the plaques.
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 Right. Right.
Yes, we don't do the trophies much this year, but now going back to the trophy bit, the bands out there they'll have a grand prize of trophy, and each one band that participates that will be given a plaque.
So what kind of, we talked about high school bands, and there are a lot of union floats, handmade
yes.
floats. What else is going to be in the parade that's,
What
anything
else?
new this year?
Yes, we've had several daycare entries this year, which I'm glad to see. Local,
Really?
yes, daycare, and we've got a lot of finance companies. They're in it, and of course we do have a lot of walkers.
Oh, yeah.
Politicians, a lot of walkers. Of course, some things we eliminate on this judging. We don't, walkers. John Hayden's group will be in there this year again.
With the blue shirts?
Yes.
Yeah.
That'll probably be the biggest float.
The sea of blue shirts, right.
And it's just, it's a mixture is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now,
But most of it is union floats, Barry.
right. Well, now, are the politicians going to be walking?
Most of them.
May I make a suggestion that you
Yes.
put them behind the horses?
I knew he was going to say that, didn't you? Well, we don't have horses.
Oh, well, okay.
We
never
used
mind
to,
then.
but-
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time.
Maybe
I'll
next time.
remember that.
Yeah, please do.
I will, Barry.
And be sure and tell them I suggested it too. Yeah.
Put the streetwalkers behind the horses.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
All
Yeah.
right.
Make sure
Well,
nobody
you
sees
know-
you
They will,
giving
but
them
they
money.
will, yeah.
You talk-
Politicians don't get money for best float. Or
You
anything.
talk
No,
about-
they don't.
about-
No, they don't. You're right.
About memories, I remember taking our son to the first parade. He was little, and he had a baseball cap. It's my baseball cap, and he wanted to collect the candy in it. And you know, your cup runneth over, his cap runneth over. I mean, there was candy just, and I
Everywhere.
still have a picture somewhere. He was barefoot, dirty feet out. They got that coal in that cap, and it's just this. It's like Halloween come early to him.
That's
And
the
a
one
big
you
part.
wore to school the next week and couldn't get it off. It was stuck to your head.
That's the one. That's the one. All the candy, and that's such a part of it. And you're right.
You
everybody
know
knows the
it is,
parade.
Barry. It is such a part of it, regardless of what. And if people would just be real careful how they toss that candy out there, because these kids, these little ones, they really enjoy that.
They do.
And
Yeah,
that
they do.
is part of, just like a band. A parade without a band is not a parade.
I agree. And well, down through the years and looking back at the parades, what are some of the more creative floats that you can remember? The ones that you really liked that stand out in the past years?
Well, the one that I remember the most, and it's just recently, really is the local from Mayfield, 665.
Steel workers,
Yes,
right,
steel
right.
workers.
Right.
They are so elaborate with their float, and it just stands out. It just grabs you right away, and I really like that. But we have a lot of them. We have a lot of them that they just don't do as much for you, but they're participating in that, and they're as faithful as they can be each year. And we depend on these people because we send out letters every year to the people that have participated in these parades, and they all come through. But you always have a favorite, Barry. You always have a favorite.
Well, now the local 665 float, it won an award last year.
Yes,
Wasn't
it did.
the grand prize or
Yes,
something?
Grant. They sure did.
Now, are you going to be riding in a car, Commissioner, or walking
I will be riding.
Will
in
you-
your Corvette?
Either that or a convertible Mustang, but I may drive my Corvette or have someone drive it. It's T-top, so I can sit on the top.
Okay.
I haven't fallen off yet.
I was
so-
going to ask you how to be sure. How do you hold on? I mean,
I might say this,
Please
talking
do.
about the convertible, and it made me think of Lewis Hicks.
yes.
He was a grand marshal one year for us, and I drove the car for him, and he was so proud. And that was a year before he passed away, isn't that right? And everybody loved Lewis, and he was just such a drawing card. But sitting up there, he was scared to death. But he was such a pleasure to be around.
Yeah, he was.
Good
He
man.
was with the Pace local at the
Yes.
paper mill down in Wycliffe.
Yes,
and was,
Wycliffe.
yeah, always had a smile, always
Always.
friendly, never raised his voice,
Never
had
complained
a
about a thing.
bad word for anybody,
Yeah.
as far as I know. Yeah,
He was the mayor of La Center.
and he was the
Yes.
mayor of La Center.
Yes,
that
he
is
was.
exactly right. He certainly was.
And he was
Very
our
well liked.
he
in
was
the-
our judge, one of our judges last year, and that was in September, and in November, I guess he was.
I believe he died
Yeah.
late, certainly
Yeah.
later in the year.
Yes, he was
yeah.
a sick man.
Yeah,
Lost
yeah.
a good man.
Yes,
Yeah,
we did.
Indeed,
We
indeed.
did.
So if you put these 55 units together, how long would that stretch? I mean,
Well, you mean time-wise?
I'm talking, yeah, or just in terms of length. That's a pretty long
Well,
parade.
we go from second to, and it's continuous because you know we're
Oh, it
only
is.
allowed so much lap in between, and if we don't, then they're unhappy with us.
It'd probably
So
be
what
three-
is it,
3 miles
3
long.
miles,
Yeah, a mile and a
and a
half.
half?
If you double
Well,
that,
now
at
you
least
said
3 miles.
going back to how you organize these parades. Obviously, the fire trucks go first because
They
they
do.
can get a call, something can happen. But beyond that, how do you decide who goes next in the parade?
Well, of course, you have your police escort. That's your beginning, and then you have your color guard, and then we do our grand marshal. We know that's next.
Right.
Then we put our fire engine, and then we try to fit in a band pretty close then, and we try to consider the size of the floats, and fit those in as we've gotten in their forms for registration and everything.
Oh.
We try to consider all that.
Sort of a first come, first served.
Well, yes, and then of course we ask the size too. That has a lot to do with it. We have one group that's going to take a whole block almost, and we're lining them up on the street where the barbecue on the river is, that whole street, and then we'll bring them right on around.
Which unit is that?
That's 550.
Wow. That's great. And then, and also,
hard.
so the politicians, in all seriousness, you just sort of
Oh,
fit,
we just
fit them
fit
in
them now.
wherever.
Well, this year we're fitting them in pretty close to each other. You
Well,
know.
that could be fun. That could
Well,
be
we
great.
thought
yeah.
so.
Have the two candidates for governor next. Oh, that'd be wonderful. Walking along, we could really get something going
We've
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
We try to be very careful, but
Yeah,
try to
yeah.
keep everybody. And the thing of it is, some of them will slip in there, and you don't even know they've done that. I'm talking about different, even the floats sometimes. They think, well, they've sat there long enough.
Well,
and
now
they're
how
ready-
do you stop that? And of course, Bubba Dawes and Jeff are pretty big. That could
Yeah,
pretty well stop that.
Well,
but,
and I'm down there with them. We know, we recognize these floats. We recognize
and
them.
they try to cheat like that.
Well, they try.
Yeah.
This was a Christmas parade, but last year there's not supposed to be any politicians, but the
No,
local
I
officials
know they're
get in.
not.
But Gatewood Galbraith got in it.
Well, I can see that.
Selling his book and smoking a joint while he was driving down Broadway.
Are you-
No, he wasn't smoking a joint.
I was gonna
He had
say,
his
yeah.
book.
Book.
And,
At his book. Yeah.
That is,
You know, that's a good parade, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's fun.
Those-
Christmas
those
parades are always
two
fun.
We always-
big parades in Paducah.
we
right
have-
I
over
wondered,
Christmas.
you know, about you almost have to be like a traffic cop. I mean, you signal them to move and tell them to stop.
We
and-
do, we
and,
do.
But sometimes they don't pay attention.
No, they don't. And I had to call the over there on our train to keep it. Ask them not to schedule a train crossing Broadway.
Oh right.
You know, that happened one year with this Christmas parade, and they were tied up a good 30, 45 minutes.
Oh.
And so I have to call over there and talk to Mr. John Finninger and make sure there won't be a train.
And that's one of those little things that if
You
you're
do.
not careful,
Yeah.
you
You-
can get
yes.
caught on. And
And
who
they
would
had-
have thought of that? That
Yeah,
a train
I
would
know.
disrupt.
Well, you just, after a while, you just kind of learn to do these things.
Well, do you have a last minute checklist that you go over and just say, okay,
Doing it right now.
Doing it right
I'm doing
now.
it right now.
Yeah.
The ones that I'm, you know, and
Just to
I know
make
they'll
sure.
be there, like the colored guard. I want to be sure they'll be there because Bubba depends on me to doing that. And this lane, we have our portable potties, you know, and
That's an important thing.
It is.
yeah, and I'm
Seriously.
double checking on that. Yes, Barry, to answer your question,
Well, now,
I have to do that.
let's say
Why
you're
not?
going to be on a float. What time do you have to be there?
8:30.
8:30. But they start getting there before that, don't they?
Yes, they do. They're down there.
Pretty much almost
Yeah.
after sunup.
Yeah, it's a social time.
Yeah,
Get there
it
early
is.
and
They
vi-
mix, and
visit with
they.
everybody.
I think they enjoy
Yeah,
though,
it's
don't
fun.
you?
Yeah,
I think so
I try to
too.
get there early, just try to say hi to everybody. It's fun.
Yeah,
See
yeah.
a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
Get first dibs on the candy.
That's true. That's a practical. Now, barbecue will be featured at the.
Oh yes,
That's always a
that's the
part of
main
it.
thing. And then we have another. Well, they've been there for several years, and they're dependable, and they're very clean about what they do.
Good barbecue.
And who's the barbecuist?
It's from he's from Benton. It's a school, a quarterback barbecue club. Is what
Oh,
it's
it's
called.
for they raise money for the football
Yeah.
team over there.
Yes,
the
they
Marshall
do.
County Quarterback Club.
That's right.
Okay.
And we had them last year, and they just really
I
did a
saw
good
it.
job.
Right, I remember them
and
last year.
everybody was happy with them, and we were more than happy with them, and they agreed to come back again
Right.
this year.
Now, potential parade picnic goers concerned about the heat. It'll be shade. Well, the stands will be set up.
Yes, it'll be out. I've taken care of that. It'll be set up like it was last year out in the center. We figured that we tried it out there with the grandstand, but you're separating your crowd too much, and that didn't work. We learned real quick one year that didn't work. You need to keep those people there in the center. So that's the reason we have the stage set up in the center, and then have the bleachers around. And there's trays.
They're on the big oak trees.
Yes.
Right. So we won't have to worry too much. But it would be a good idea to bring sunscreen anyway, just
Well, yes.
just in case. And then of course the politicians will raise the temperature quite a bit with
Yes.
what they're putting
Wow.
out.
It
But,
gets hot.
It does. Yeah. That's all part of that. So that
Bad
sort
for
of
the-
gassy stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Evaporates the clouds.
Anyway,
and,
yeah, that's gaseous diffusion, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
We're putting out. So,
Yeah.
in the 1 minute that we have left, if someone wanted to call you, is there a number they could call you before the
I'd be
parade?
happy for them to call 270-554-1627. If I'm not there, leave a message and I'll return the call. Be happy
And
to.
anything we left out? Any last minute thoughts, comments?
Well, I'd just like to say that Frances is one of the hardest working people
She is
I've
that.
ever met in my life.
She is
and
that.
I'm glad she's only about in her early 30s because she
Right.
takes on so many projects. People know around town if you want something done, call Frances and she'll do it. And she's the go-to person, and she does a wonderful job of coordinating and running the whole show. And it's a lot of fun. I invite people out to watch the parade and come to Carson Park and all the different activities and opportunities. It's just a lot of fun, and it's well worth getting out for.
Thank
and
you,
it is.
Gerald. Appreciate you saying that.
and
It is
I-
a lot of hard work.
And I echo Gerald's sentiments.
Thank
and it
you,
is
Harry.
one of the largest Labor Day programs, certainly in our area,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the largest in the state as well. So
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
we're out of time. Thank you for joining us, and please join the festivities on the Labor Day weekend coming up. I'm Barry Craig. We'll see you next time.